Hi traders, and welcome to the PL Capital Weekly Market Review. I'm your host Paul. In this video we'll look at the S&P, the Nasdaq, and some individual stocks. So with that, let's start. And as usual, we're going to start with the upcoming economic calendar. And this will be one of the most impactful and volatile weeks, I think, of the entire year. A lot going on. So a lot of data points. Starts on Tuesday. You got composite and manufacturing and services PMI numbers coming out. You also have new home sales coming out. Wednesday, durable goods. Thursday, GDP. And then the big one, Friday, core PCE. So really, really huge data points coming out. And then we have kickoff to earnings. On Tuesday, we have Tesla. Wednesday is Meta. And Thursday is Alphabet and Microsoft. So this is going to be, I think, a really whipsawing type of week. I mean, with all the data and with all the earnings, every piece that comes out could cause big swings in the market. All right, so be ready for all of that. Let's get onto the charts. And if there's any doubt now, we know that the top is in on all of these markets and stocks. Now the only question is how big of a correction, how long will it take, and where are we in the correction? This is the S&P futures market, 4-hour chart. And it looks to me like they're doing a diagonal, but this third wave is just a little bit too big, actually. So ABC, I think that was 1. ABC, that was 2. Then you had this like AB, and then they really started to extend it. So then you had the C wave, and you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they made like a diagonal type pattern here. That could be 3. So what I'm watching for is this zone here, 5086 to 5122. If price comes up in here in 3 ways, and it looks like they've already started to come up. We got 1, got a 2. So if they come back up here into this zone and get rejected and it starts to come down, then I think that was 1, that was 2. This is just a really big 3 wave in a diagonal. This is 4, and then come down in 3 ways, and that'll be 5. And that'll be a really big leading diagonal. And then we'll get a correction and then more down. So I want to see, 1, the reaction in here, and 2, the type of pattern that, because it has to be 3 waves, and it really should like come up from where it is right now. Like if it breaks the low again, this is, well, I don't think it'll be a diagonal, but if it breaks it again, then this is somehow like really exaggerated. Might be just a series of 1-2s then. So I'll have to relook at that. If they break this low, 49.63, might be that instead of this being an ABC, it might just be that this was 1, 2, and then this is 1, 2, and then this was 1, 2, and then this was 1, and then finally you get a 3, 4, and a 5, and then we start going back up. So yeah, this next wave will really help tell me what this all is. If they break the low again, then this is all just a big impulse, and this is, instead of ABCs, this is all 1, 2, 1, 2 type of stuff. But if they come up here and then reject, then I think this was a leading diagonal. So doesn't matter. I wouldn't be too eager right now to be buying S&P or Nasdaq, even though everything is getting really oversold. You know, on a, definitely on a 4-hour, even almost on the daily, you're getting getting oversold. So there's going to be a bounce, whether they break that low one more time or first they go up and then break. So yeah, I wouldn't be buying quite yet until we can see that we've got confirmation that at a temporary low is in. So keep an eye on this level and the low. If they break the low, then I think this was all just one big massive impulse, and then there will be a correction coming. All right, Nasdaq. Now the Nasdaq to me looks more like they are doing just creating this as a big ABC. So this little ABC I think was A, that was B, and I think this is all just a big massive C wave. So they ended at that curious spot. So in that last video that I did, I'm going to a daily. You know, I said there is the possibility that you had this ABC, and they could do an ABC into this, and then still one more up to break the top to finish that fifth wave. And so I left that box there. Now this is obviously very strong selling. So I would find it hard to believe that this is going to be an A, B, C, and now we go and we break the top again. Like there's no, well, I guess there is a little bit of divergence when they created that low today in the second half. So, you know, market opened up, and of course people are buying the dip, and then we go and make another low. So there is divergence on the 4 hour, but this is some really strong selling. So I guess, you know, if all the data points come positive next week, GDP looks good, PCE, maybe PCE drops, and then the earnings for the big boys, Google, and Meta, and Microsoft. If everyone's earnings are good, then maybe the Nasdaq goes and creates a new high. But this is some really strong selling. You know, MACD definitely has no divergence, just some on the RSI, just a oversold condition. So I'm expecting that this is just ABC, and this will just be the A wave, and there will be a bounce coming, but I think that's all it'll be a B wave, and then still one more down for a C wave. So, but yeah, I find it funny that it ended right at the bottom of that box that I drew on, I think Tuesday, maybe that was Monday or Tuesday. So, you know, possibility that this is a ABC, and then they're going to go break the top, but I'm not going to lean towards that one, especially when we look at the individual stocks. So we'll start with what we've been looking at, AMD. And AMD now is the only one so far of all the stocks that I've been monitoring here that has confirmed that their fifth wave is complete. I said not until they break this 161.80 low do we know that the fifth wave is done. And so they were hovering there for a while. Bulls were trying to defend it, but broke through this week. So can take that line off. That's no longer needed. So now when we go out to the daily, you know, I see this as a 5-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So need a correction, and you know, it definitely looks like an ABC. Go back to the 4 hour. ABC, but you know, just like the Nasdaq, you know, no divergence on the MACD, no divergence on RSI, and it's not even super oversold on RSI yet. So just like the Nasdaq, I think this is just going to be the A wave. Should be getting a B wave up, and then one more down for the C. So definitely would not be shorting this, and you know, taking a stab down at this level, just to play for a bounce, not a bad idea. Should be getting at least, I would think, up to like 170, so what, 146, what are we looking at here? Let's say 170, yeah, 16% bounce, that'd be pretty good. So yeah, I down here, I think it's pretty safe to start to look for the buy set, but just for temporary bounce, maybe a couple weeks, and then there's probably still more down to come for AMD. And what else have we been looking at? So Alphabet reports next week. Now this one looks like they're not giving a strong indication that they're done. And the way this ended, it looks like it's just the 3 waves. So I'm wondering like what all this is, because this isn't really clear. And unless this was this whole pattern here is a little awkward. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I don't think that was 1, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's not 4. Yeah, the pattern on Google is a little unclear. So we'll go down to a 1 hour. It looks like it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like they made some kind of like an expanding leading diagonal. So I would expect correction up. So it looks like they already started. 1, 2, and I could see them coming up into this 156, 157 range. 1, 2, 3, and then still one more down, because that looks like it's 5 waves. Now it could be just like this was like 1, 2, 3 W, X, and then Y possibly. If they're going to go up and break the top one more time, that could be. So, but just like everything else, it needs at least a bounce up. Whether this was a leading diagonal, you need a correction for it to still go back down. So the only question is it done if this is a leading diagonal? And it looks, pretty much like you got your 3 wave move, 1, 2, and 3. And this is a pretty strong bounce, corrected down, and then, kind of late day started to push up a little bit. So, Google, I don't know if I'd necessarily be buying this just for this little type of move. I think I'd wait and see on Google, because you might be able to get it underneath 153. What is this over here? Yeah, well, 152, sorry. I think you might be able to get it under 152, and that would be a better entry somewhere, probably even more like 151 and 150. That'd be a better entry than trying to play just for a little $2 or $3 move, because there is the potential that they go and break the tops on 160. So I guess if you're playing for that, maybe put a half position on. But Google not selling off like some of the others, so there is the potential that they do go break 160. But I think I'd just wait on this one. When we look at Meta 2, they look like they've created a 5 wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So just a matter of is the low in. So their low that they created today, 475. Is that the low, or is it maybe just got a little bit more? But either way, I'd only be looking for the buy setup. I mean, this looks like a really good leading diagonal. So you should be getting a bounce up, and I think they'll coming up around to like 500 at least. It's going to just do a shallow correction. would be good, but I think because that's looking very much like a leading diagonal, I think it would be coming back down. Now the only other pattern that is possible is that this, what I'm calling a leading diagonal, could be an ending diagonal, and because the way this ended is kind of weird, because it looks like it's just three waves in here, and so it's possible that this is just a running flat here, and so they came up, and then you got like an A and a B, and then this is an ending diagonal for C, and now it's going to go all the way up and break their top. So obviously that would all hinge on their earnings coming out on Thursday. So if they knock it out of the park, yeah, they're going to go break their top. So it'll be curious to see that what's going on leading up to Thursday, because if it's getting really strong, market might be anticipating that Meta is going to have great earnings, and they'll go break their top. So yeah, definitely it'd only be looking for buy setups in Meta, because even like I said, even you could play just for the shallow correction, it should still at least go to the 500 mark, and then you could like at least set it to break even if you buy from where it is right now. So I think Meta's like a really pretty safe play to do some kind of trade on that one. And Microsoft. Now Microsoft, yeah, looks pretty much like the Nasdaq. Looks like to me like just A, B, and a big C wave. So just like everything else, I'd expect a correction up, but still more down on that. So I'd wait on Microsoft. I think you'll be able to get it under the low, and with that 4 low over here sitting at 397, I'm sure they're going to come and correct up and then take it out, because then you'll have a lot of stop losses sitting under there. So yeah, Microsoft, I think that's a hold. Just wait and let this correct up, but you'll be able to get it under today's low. And Tesla. All right. So Tesla, they just keep pushing it down. It was looking good for a while that the 5 was in when they came down here, but then they just gave a little correction and then back down. So the 5 is not done now, because it looks to me like they created this flat here. So 1, I think that's 2, and I don't think the 3. I mean, if the 3 is in, I put this box. You could be playing for a bounce up into this 154, 158 region. It's kind of a shallow 3, given the size of that 1, and even the 2 is really big. I think they might be coming down a little bit more, and then you, because this should be a 5-wave move for this 5th wave. So you got a 1 and you got a 2. I don't feel like 146 is the low. So I think they might be pushing it down a little bit more, not a whole lot, $1, $2, but they will be, have to go up for a 4 and then go down for that 5, and we'll move that over there. So eventually they'll go up for the 4 and the 5. So you could either play for the bounce for the 4, or just wait for this whole thing to finish out. I think that might be safer, because Tesla seems to be facing a lot of pressure in the stock market and company-wise too. So, I think I just maybe wait a little bit, because that 3 might be pushing down. And if the 3 is in and they do bounce up there, you wouldn't be playing for much anyway. But if they come up there and then reject and then break the low, well, then you'll know that the 5 waves are in. And then this whole thing will need to correct before it goes down, and probably going to go take out that 101 low. So I'd only be looking for the buy setup on Tesla. and I think you're probably going to be able to get it lower than where it is right now. So that's how I'd play that. Okay, so that's what I see on the markets and the stocks. Hope it helps. It's going to be a crazy week next week, so be ready. And appreciate your likes and comments. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.